back to First Alert Doppler Network. Again, they've trimmed back the tornado warning for Caldwell County. It's off to our east. More storms developing in Bollinger County and Cape Girardeau County. And then we have a tornado warning out for the area of extreme southern Bollinger County and northwestern Stoddard County. Laura, I'm going to let you take over for just a second. I'm going to catch my breath and check up on a couple of things.
Yeah, I'm going to take us to this storm that's still officially outside of the heartland, but it will be moving eastward into Ripley County here shortly. So I do want to track this storm. It's also moving about the same speed as all of these storms have been moving over the past hour or so, off to the east at about 30 miles per hour. So this will impact some areas that have been very quiet. Everything's been north of you so far, but I don't want you to let your guard down because, again, we're still watching this storm. So I'm going to track the leading edge of this as it pushes into the heartland. This is an hour track or so. So just to kind of give you plenty of time, give you that first alert. 7:56, it'll be pushing into the Gatewood area. Then about 8:22, Doniphan, want to give you that first alert that you are not out of the woods for severe weather. Right now, this is just a severe thunderstorm warning, but there have been signs of rotation with this storm for quite some time. Then if it continues on that track, about 8:55 for Neelyville. And again, this storm right now looks like it should stay just to the south of Poplar Bluff. So do want to give you that alert too if you're in Poplar Bluff right now. Things are looking pretty decent for you. You'll get some rainfall here, but right now it looks like the severe storms will either be well to the north of you or south of you. Again, we'll have to keep a close eye on this track. As Grant was mentioning, a couple of them were just trying to take a little bit of a more northerly turn. So if that were to happen, that would put maybe the southern parts of Poplar Bluff at risk. Right now, I don't think that is what we are concerned with, because if we loop this for the last hour or so, you can really see this direction not moving northerly. In fact, if anything, maybe east-southeasterly. So that would keep it with a threat towards Doniphan, towards Neelyville, and then if it continues on, eventually towards the Malden area. So again, officially that's outside of our area. I just want to give you that first alert because I know you've been clear of severe weather so far, but that may not be the case here as we continue. Let's go ahead and check in on our storms that have been long-lived storms and have been producing lots of rotation with them. Really, over the last 20 minutes, I want to say things have improved immensely on these storms. Also want to show you the lightning tracker. I know it's hard to see the storms right now, but I just wanted to show you all that dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning as well. Let's move that off. Check out what the winds look like inside of the storm right now. Definitely looking much better than what we saw earlier. Still, ping pong size hail. I wouldn't be surprised if we even had some reports of slightly larger hail than that. Right around State Highway C. This is just south and west of Advance, but that again is going to be moving into parts of Advance, just south of Advance. If you're traveling or if you know this area just along Highway 25 south of Advance, that's going to be rolling over that area right now, which will put the largest hail over State Highway W here, likely within the next 20 minutes. There's probably already a little bit of pea-size hail in that storm as well. I want to continue to track farther to the north and east. We lose our warnings for most of this area, but many of you are reporting that your ground was covered in some pea-sized hail. We've seen that through Perryville into now southern portions of Perry County. That is likely going on here with this storm. If we look inside this one, still seeing some rotation with that, so definitely still something to keep our eye on. It's still fairly broad. This is just east of Scopus, but that's going to be moving into Jackson. At the very least, you're going to see gusty winds and some hail with that as it moves towards your area in Jackson. So again, want to give you that alert. If you have a car and you could put it somewhere quickly, safely, I would advise you to do that. If you know anyone traveling along I-55 from, say, St. John southward or headed north out of Scott County, I would go ahead and call them and tell them maybe hold up if they can, because when this swings through, it is going to be hard to see with the heavy rainfall, the lightning, and then the hail on top of that. at the very least, and there could be damaging winds with that storm too. But that is kind of the update of what we've got going on. Let me move a little further to the north and east. We're not forgetting about you in southern Illinois either. Again, hail is the biggest concern right now with this kind of like line streaking out here. Can you see this from Grand Tower back towards Creel Springs? That is likely producing some hail. And let's see if there's any lightning in that little band right there. A little bit. So it has intensified a little bit in that area around Grand Tower. So that's something we'll be watching as well. But the good news is, inside that line, we're not seeing any rotation.
Yeah, that was kind of exactly what I was doing, just checking up on everything. Good job, Laura, letting everybody know what's going on with the other storms out there. I wanted to kind of look at the overall atmospheric conditions. The low-level winds are still favorable for tornadoes to develop with any rotation. The rotation that we have seen in the storms themselves, as Laura was mentioning, has weakened just a bit over the past few minutes. That doesn't mean we're going to let our guard down. It would be nice to just have some garden variety thunderstorms, get them out of here and get this over with. We're seeing, again, the big threat. We've had lots and lots of hail with the storms across the area tonight. Just a tremendous amount of hail because of how cold the mid-levels of the atmosphere are tonight. But this storm is the strongest storm right now. It's got very intense signature for hail moving into the Advance area. And this storm right here, actually, when I look at the rotation and when I look at the winds, this is actually the strongest rotating, at least it was just a few minutes ago, to the west of Jackson. Now, that doesn't mean that it's strong enough to produce a tornado, but that's a pretty tight couplet that's getting together. So we're going to monitor this closely. Again, Jackson, I'm talking to you because this is going to be headed towards the northern parts of Jackson, also near the Oak Ridge area. We're seeing a little bit of rotation beginning to develop that's moving into Cape Girardeau County as we speak. This would not hit Cape Girardeau City. This would hit Jackson if it strengthens up. So we're going to keep an eye on that very closely as it moves off to the east. There's the rotation there right here to the west of Advance. You can see that tight little couplet that's in southern Bullinger County. It's not as strong as it was, nowhere near as strong as it was just a few minutes ago. So there's a sign that things are improving, and that storm that produced the ping pong ball size hail that earlier had good signs of rotation, we're not seeing any rotation in this storm whatsoever. So we've got rotation with this storm developing to the west of Jackson. The reason we have to watch this closely, this line that Laura was talking about that you see right here is, and I'll pan down just a bit so you can see a little better what I'm talking about. This line is that kind of what we call, it was more of like a wind shift, a little bit of what we call a warm front. And it has been moving north all night, and it's just along and to the south of that where you get these little eddies in the wind. You get these little spins, and this storm is getting real close to where you would picture that increased wind shear. So we'll have to monitor this over the next 15 minutes or so to see if that strengthens. But we do have the possibility now of, and you can see it right there, we still see that broad rotation. So we're going to be watching western Cape Girardeau County very closely. There's our rotation near Advance. We'll kind of pan down there. It has changed its direction just a bit. It was moving more east-southeast. Now it's moving more east to almost east-northeast. So we will have to pay attention to this closely to see if it moves into the Advance area. Again, we've got two areas of rotation we're monitoring closely. Just to the west of Jackson and just to the west of Advance right now in southeast Missouri. Both of those areas of rotation are not extremely strong, but in this environment, it's kind of an eye-opener, something that we keep our eyes on closely. The biggest concern with this storm moving towards Advance will be the more than likely very large hail that'll be falling with it, as we see the possibility of hail up to the size of ping pong balls likely with this storm in this general area. And we could take a look there. We definitely have large hail. Now that is an extreme hail spike right there. The radar comes around, hits the hail, and you can see that spike that goes off to the west because of it. So we've got some very large hail in this storm moving into northern Stoddard County from southern Bullinger County, moving into the Advance area as we speak. And we've got rotation still with this storm as well. So the rotation has weakened just a bit, and we hope that trend continues, because if it does, we could throw things back to regular programming if we get rid of these tornado warnings and don't have strong signs of rotation on radar. But this is very heavy hail likely across State Highway C moving into Advance, along Highway 25 and 25 that heads up towards towards Dutchtown, right in the Advance area. I'm telling you, you guys are probably going to get the ground covered in hail. We've seen that a lot tonight. It wouldn't surprise me. We've seen up to an inch, not diameter, but an inch of hail accumulate in some areas tonight with these storms. And we could likely see that with this storm because that appears to be the main threat with it as of this time. We'll take a look at the rotation. Again, we're seeing that right along State Highway C. It continues to get much weaker. So we're thinking that this tornado warning will be allowed to expire, and our new concern will be what happens with this west of Jackson. And you can see we do have rotation trying to develop right along Highway 34 as you head towards Millersville. This is just to the south of Millersville. I think pretty soon that's where the turnoff is to go to Bullinger Mill. I'll zoom kind of into this area. I think it's 00, that State Highway 00 that comes down to the south. Yeah, State Highway 00 right here, and that's right where the Bullinger Mill, the old Bullinger Mill is, and that's where we're seeing a new area of rotation develop. Again, it is not extremely strong, so hopefully that trend will continue, but it is there. So western Cape Girardeau County, 34 headed into Jackson. That's what we're concerned with right here, and that is headed in towards, this is where the Highway 34 and 72 split. Remember a few years ago we were tracking something very similar to this, and we had a tornado touchdown in this neighborhood right here. So we'll continue to watch it closely as sometimes these tornadoes spin up pretty quickly even without warning. That's what happened a few years ago. We were watching in a very similar situation as it moved right near this intersection and caused a little bit of damage to some houses. Now as we continue off to the east, we're getting some very heavy rain here at the studio right now. You can see this right here. We're probably seeing some lightning with it as well, because I've heard some thunder. Yeah, there's the lightning. Look at all the lightning right here over the Jackson area. So intense weather moving through western and northwestern Cape Girardeau County right now. And the main concern is hail and high winds. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get strong gusty winds and hail. We've got, is it video, Brian, that you have of us? Or what do we have pictures? So this is what it looks like in Perryville when that storm came through. You can see it's not technically severe hail, but you can see it's bouncing, covering the ground. It looks to me to be close to dime-size hail, and that is kind of what's been going on across most of the area that are under these thunderstorms. We have seen a tremendous amount of hail with the strong thunderstorms out there this evening. So let's go back to Max 1, and again we're watching this storm very closely, a little inflow notch forming, and we have a little bit of rotation. So this is the storm that is right now in my mind the greatest concern for the tornado potential, and it keeps getting a little more interesting. That couplet's getting a little tighter there, folks. For you folks on the northwestern side of Jackson, again we're watching Highway 34 and 72 where they come together. A possible tornado maybe trying to form right in this general area. We've got very heavy rainfall. This is the storm that just went through the Scopus area. We officially have no warning on this storm right now, but if this continues with this trend, I would gather we would at least see a severe thunderstorm warning issued on it, if not a tornado warning, because we are beginning to see more rotation develop. The rotation with this storm is moved into Stoddard County. We don't have an extension of the severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning yet. So the thought is we may be allowing this tornado warning to be canceled here shortly, but I would expect a severe thunderstorm warning to be extended for northern Stoddard County because radar shows a good signature for hail around the Advance area right now. So two storms that we're really concerning ourselves with. One near Jackson, officially no warning with it, but we are seeing rotation developing just to the west side of Jackson. Again, if you live in those neighborhoods that are right near the intersection of 72, where 72 branches off and goes northwest, and 34 goes off towards Marble Hill, I'm talking about right there, right at that intersection. I'd go ahead and get in my safe spot right now, just based on what I'm seeing with the rotation beginning to develop. Right there, it's even stronger than it was. So right here, we're seeing a possible tornado trying to develop, and this is just to the west of Jackson. Just to the west of Jackson. You can see the rotation that is near Advance has weakened significantly. So I don't think that will be continued, at least a tornado warning. I would expect a severe thunderstorm warning issued shortly for northern Stoddard County, possibly going into parts of Scott County. We're watching this storm as well as it's about to go into southeastern or southwestern Ripley County. But our strongest storm right now on radar with respect to winds will be that storm that is headed into Jackson right now. So again, officially no warning out on it, but based on the way the wind flow is in the atmosphere and what we have seen so far tonight, just to be on the safe side, I would be headed to my safe spot. If I lived right here in the western side of Jackson, we're talking about that's Highway 72, that's Highway 34. Right here, I would be headed to my basement if I had one. If I didn't have a basement, I'd be going to the interior room on the lowest floor of my home. And we're still seeing that. It's right here. It's not extremely tight, but boy, it's looking more impressive each time I look at it. So it looks like something may be trying to develop. Again, it is entering an area thanks to this boundary that's moving to the north. It gets all these little swirls to the south of this boundary, and now this thunderstorm's moving in and can ingest some of those swirls. And remember, we just had a tornado in the Jackson area earlier this year, right along exit 99. And this one would go just to the north if it does turn into a tornado. But we're seeing rotation developing right here along Highway 34 and about to move towards the intersection of Highway 34 and 72. We'll go back to the tornado warning storm. Again, that storm appears to be out of the warning area, but it looks like we're still getting some very heavy rain and hail over Highway 25 in Advance right now. We'll take a look at the winds inside here. And again, strong gusty winds likely, but we're not seeing anything that really looks tornadic. So that's definitely some good news. Laura, are you getting any information in the chat room with the storm near Advance?
We did have a spotter on it, unconfirmed report of a wall cloud about 2 miles northwest of 6 miles north of Bloomfield, excuse me. He said maybe a wall cloud. He can't really tell if it's rotating or not. But again, from what we are seeing with that storm, the rotation has really backed off. But it's always good to get those reports and keep an eye on it from what people are actually seeing. Also, I did track this storm that we're focusing on near Jackson. I don't want you to freak out if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't get a warning, my phone didn't go off, my weather radio's not going off. You are not officially under a warning right now, but I still want to track this area. And I did a pretty broad area. Right now, the strongest rotation is kind of right in here. But I did a pretty broad area so you can get an idea of when the storm or parts of the storm will be in your area. So right about now, again, for Jackson, we're going to be moving into Moccasin Springs at about 8:31. And then I did a pretty long track that takes us into Illinois as well, just to, again, give you that first alert. About 8:50 is when this storm will be pushing into the Jonesboro area.
All right, thanks for that. That's good to get the track on it. So the rotation on this storm definitely has weakened. Not sure if they're going to be putting a new warning out on it. I would expect a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Stoddard County, maybe extreme southern Cape Girardeau County and Scott County. All right, they just issued a severe thunderstorm warning for the storm we're talking about, and I would imagine they have a possible tornado tag in that. Not 100% sure, but they do not. So they're not. But we're still seeing some rotation. So, we look at these things just like everybody else that are looking at radar in the weather world, and when we see something that appears to be dangerous, we go by what our own eyes tell us, and that's what we're doing with this storm in Jackson. And again, we may not have a tornado with it, but I just remember seeing very similar situations like this in a very similar location of a tornado, and that keeps getting tighter and tighter. I want to zoom in on that. This continues to tighten up, this rotation. This is right along Highway 34. If you're in Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and call it. There's no tornado warning again. Severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. But if you're in Jackson, get in your safe spot, and here's why. The shear markers are continuing to show a tight rotation right there. You see that? That is intense. We can look at the legend. That 70-mile-per-hour winds going away from the radar, 50 going towards the radar. That is tight rotation right there over 34.
They just updated it with the tornado possible.
So they just updated it for a tornado possible. But again, if you're in Jackson, get in your safe spot, please. Get in your basement if you live in Jackson or west of Jackson. If you live in those communities that are near Highway 72 and Highway 34, please be in your basement right now. I know this happened a few years ago in this very similar situation where we were tracking this on First Alert Doppler Network and a tornado touchdown in that neighborhood. This is very similar to that location. But again, this is going to go right across Highway 34, cross 72, and this is going to go into the main part of Jackson, near Rotary Park, all those older homes in that general area near the courthouse. That's where this rotation is headed right now. again, officially no tornado warning, but rotation on radar continues to look pretty tight and pretty impressive. Just the regular rotation, this is not storm relative, just looking at the regular rotation, it's hard to miss. There's some very strong gusty winds with this. But when I scoped the storm and looked at and take into account the storm's movement, it was very intense. But we could have an update right now. And we do. It has weakened just a bit, but it is still there. It is still there. We are rotating right along the intersection right now of Highway 72 and 34. So let's extend things out. Again, we have a severe thunderstorm warning out for Cape Girardeau County for this storm that's moving into the Jackson area. They did extend the severe thunderstorm warning now for northern Stoddard County into Scott County for this cell right here. I would imagine we're going to get a severe thunderstorm warning at some point for extreme southwestern Ripley County for that storm that's moving in there. The rotation for this storm has weakened significantly. The rotation on this storm is intensifying as it moves into the Jackson area. That's why we're saying be safe. Better be safe than sorry. We may not have a tornado. Hopefully we don't. But I would feel horrible if something was on the ground right now and I didn't tell you to take shelter or Laura didn't tell you to take shelter based on what the radar has been showing. It has been strengthening. We started showing you that rotation as it was in Bullinger County, just north of Marble Hill, and the rotation was fairly weak. It continued to strengthen. It continued to strengthen. And now it's even stronger as it heads into the Jackson area. We may have a new update. Hopefully it is weakened. And it is a little weaker. We're not seeing that orange and green, but it is still there. And it's now moving just to the south. So it may stay just south of where I had mentioned before, near the courthouse. But it is crossing in that general area. Again, it is hard to pinpoint the exact location because the atmosphere tilts and the storm updraft tilts. So where the radar is hitting the rotation isn't exactly where it is on the ground, but it's in pretty close proximity. So if you live in the Jackson area, I would definitely be seeking shelter. Now, did they track this off to the east-southeast? Because that's the way they drew the polygon.
Give me 1 second. Let me pull that back up. They are tracking it east at 30.
East at 30. Okay, there's the late. Oh, there was the latest, and the rotation looks a little weaker there, so that's good. But they just went with the tornado warning, so they've got the tornado warning out now. So the tornado warning is in effect for the Jackson area. Like we said, this also includes Cape Girardeau. So Jackson under a tornado warning. Cape Girardeau is now under a tornado warning. Again, that's that rotation that we've been watching for the past 30 minutes as it was crossing the line to come into Cape Girardeau County. This storm was the one that had the tornado warning out. It is no longer in the tornado warning area, and it is no longer showing signs of rotation. So we have a tornado warning now for Cape Girardeau County, and this is going through the town of Jackson, and it's going into Cape Girardeau. It's going to move right along Kings Highway. So this track takes the storm right along Kings Highway, and the rotation would go across the northern part of Cape Girardeau if it holds together. So if you live near Lexington, if you live on the north side of the Kings Highway, right now that looks like that's where that rotation would go. If it turns a little more to the right, then it could go just to the south of Lexington and then head to the south of Kings Highway. But right now, that rotation is moving in this general area. So we're going to zoom in a little more, and we're not going to forget about you, Advance. We know you got a severe storm down there, but right now we're not seeing any rotation. The only rotation we're seeing is with this storm right now that is moving into the Jackson area. And we could take a look at the winds in here, and here is that possible tornado spinning right around the area. And again, this rotation is going to move just like this. So here's where exit 99 is. This is exit. Here's where that damage occurred with the tornado earlier this year. And unfortunately, this is moving right in that general direction. This is moving right towards that interstate exit 99. And it's going to be headed towards, here's Lexington right here in Cape Girardeau. It's going to be headed towards the north side of Cape Girardeau. I know I've got some friends that live on the north side of Cape Girardeau. I'm talking to you folks. You know who you are. You need to be seeking shelter with this possible tornado moving your way. Also, folks that live along Highway 177. If you live near Trail of Tears Park, I think it's going to stay just to your south. But if you live along Highway 177 south of Trail of Tears, between Trail of Tears and Cape Girardeau, you need to be seeking shelter. So here's our possible tornado that is moving into Jackson right now. And another thing about this tornado is it will be rain wrapped. You will not be able to see it. The rotation is covered in heavy precipitation. This is one where I could almost say that it is probably hail wrapped. We're probably seeing quarter-size hail wrapping around this rotation that is moving towards the Jackson area right now. So as we take a look at the rotation, again, we're seeing a possible rotation moving right across Jackson as we speak. Notice it's a little broader than it was. Remember when I was showing it to you right over Highway 34, how those pixels were touching each other? It was very tight rotation. We're seeing a rotation that's a little broader now, so hopefully that's a sign of improvement. But again, it is fairly strong, and we can even look in here to see if we have any hints of debris. And we really don't. That's more than likely some hail. Well, no, that's not even. That's just inflow right there. And we're not really seeing much in the way of a large hail spike either. So this is tremendous heavy rain that is wrapped around maybe a little bit of hail on the backside. But very strong gusty winds likely with this storm as it's moving into Jackson. But again, we do have a tornado warning out now for the Jackson area. Wibbs, did we have any reports with this storm going into Jackson?
No reports yet. I haven't had anything even on social media either. So if you're watching us and you do have something to report, please do send that to me. You can direct message me on Facebook. I'm getting it, but I'm also in our chat room. And right now, not seeing anything in the way of even any hail reports. So that kind of in line with what you were saying, Grant, there. But of course, we're going to keep a close eye on it. Again, it's all moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. So there's plenty